Hi, I'm Stephen Goldsmith, and welcome to Homotivation, the podcast for busy, successful gay men and our allies who refuse to put their bodies last. On this show, I sit down with high-performing gay men and our allies, entrepreneurs, creatives, and professionals who are not only navigating busy lives and successful careers, but they're also trying to maintain good nutrition and to keep their bodies in shape, but not for perfection, not for approval, for longevity, confidence, and self-respect. I am so excited to have our first non-gay male coming on to our show. Very exciting. You are popping the cherry, which is probably not the best thing to, that's gross. All right. Maybe we'll cut that. But welcome, Claire Warden.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm so happy to be here with you. Life is never going to go exactly as you want it to go. We just got to adapt and keep going.
Got to roll with it. They say the show must go on, right?
That's it.
Speaking of show business, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what it is that you do.
Okay. My background is I've always been in the entertainment industry. I'm an actress by trade, have been all my career, also a fight director. And for the last 8 or 9 years, I've been leading the intimacy direction and intimacy coordination movement. I'm one of the people that created it and ushered it into our industry. And now I work primarily as an intimacy coordinator on streaming television shows and major motion pictures, and also on Broadway shows as well.
Are you allowed to talk about any of those shows or movies? No, you're not speaking on behalf of them.
No, I mean, the couple of shows that I've done recently that I've been really excited about and really proud of, I just worked on a show called Dying for Sex, which is on HBO. I worked on a show called 3 Women, which is now on Stars, which was such a glorious and very challenging process. I worked on the very controversial Slave Play, which is played both off-Broadway, on Broadway, and on the West End in London. Death of a Salesman, the gender-flipped company revival that came to Broadway a little while ago. So it's quite a range of stuff that I get to play with.
It's amazing. And did you start doing all of this in England or?
No, I mean, I started my acting career in England and the beginning of my fight career in England, but I've now been living in America, in New York City for nearly 18 years, actually. And so I really leaned into and started adding to and then formalizing my work in the fight world, in the stage combat world, once I was here in America. And then we began the creation of intimacy coordination, intimacy direction movement, which for anyone out there that doesn't know, our job is to advocate and protect actors on stage and screen who, when they do nude scenes or simulated sex scenes or any kind of intimacy, help to create those scenes so they look as realistic as we need them to be, and help the directors to film them or stage them and make sure the production has everything they need to forward and to take care of the actor's consent.
Did that kind of come out of the Me Too movement? Is that when it started to really?
We actually started creating it before the resurgence of the Me Too movement in 2017. Once it because Tarana Burke first started the Me Too movement back in 2010 as a response to the sexual assault of Black women in her community. But then when it really resurfaced in the entertainment industry and then was blown open on a worldwide basis, we'd been working since kind of 16, or the founders of this work. I joined them very early 2017. So the founders had already been working on some kind of shift or approach. Like everybody, it's the thing about the entertainment industry, right? You know, people knew what was going on. And because it's such a power heavy industry, there was a lot of someone should do something. Like someone needs to do something. This is not okay. Someone do something. And eventually we were like, well, I guess it's us. I guess no one else is. So let's have a go. We'll try. We'll see if we can make something happen. And we did.
Yeah, what an interesting kind of turn from stage combat into...
Yeah, if you had honestly told me, 8 years ago that this is where I would be and why, I'd have been like, no, I don't think I have time or interest to do that. Turns out I had both, and it arrived one day, and it just became very clear to me that this was something that I was meant to do. And I'm one of the few people that could step into the specific type of leadership and advocacy that it needed and contribute in a way that I could really serve this industry that I love so much and I've been in for so long, and I care so much about actors and the impact of theater and film and making it a sustainable and a career that has joy. And I could suddenly see how many of what I do and know and have as an individual human can make a difference. And I just felt, well, then that's my purpose. That's my job to make that difference if I can.
Yeah. And I would assume that it's very different on camera versus on stage in terms of coordinating that because of, well, hello, close-ups.
Yeah. Yeah, the technicals of it are different.
Yeah.
The foundational approach, right, which is consent, information flow, agency over, actors having agency over their body. That's the same. But the actual how you create it, and that difference between on camera, yes, that camera's going to get in real close, but we also have complete control over what the camera sees. And we're going to maybe do a whole bunch of takes and setups, but then we've done it. And then we move on.
Right.
Whereas for theater, you're creating something that...
Yes, 8 times a week.
Yeah, you might do this for a year and it has to be the same every single time and yet still feel alive like everything else we do in theater.
I remember I saw Frankie and Johnny on Broadway with Stanley Tucci and Edie Falco.
Wow.
Early aughts, maybe?
Yeah.
But I just remember that first scene. You just hear them going at it in the dark and the lights come up and then they stay completely naked for like a good, 10 minutes of that show or something? Yeah.
Well, amazingly, the first show that ever used an intimacy director on Broadway was the Frankie and Johnny revival with Audra McDonald and Michael Shannon, and that was my first Broadway show.
No way. I didn't even see that production. When was...
That was in 2019.
Okay. Oh, right. That's right. Oh, I was living in LA at the time, and that was right before the pandemic. Yes. And we know that the world has stopped, and I don't even remember things pre-pandemic anymore. It feels a completely different life.
I don't remember things from last week anymore.
Really, I don't remember things from this afternoon.
No.
Well, okay. So talk to me a little bit about, obviously the body is very important to you in so many different ways. As a performer, it's your instrument. When you're doing anything like stage combat, obviously that's a very physical thing. The intimacy coordination, that's also a physical thing. Mm-hmm. What have you noticed, maybe more so in the stage combat arena and the performing aspect of it? What have you noticed about the importance of taking care of your body in order to be able to do those things?
I mean, what I think is a thing that you can't get away from is that even when I am helping other people to use their bodies, the canvas we're all using is the body, and what is happening in my body and how I am holding and living and am present in my body will on a molecular level affect everybody in the room. Now that's something that's become incredibly clear to me as I've been doing this really deep, both kind of trauma-informed work, but deep physical storytelling work. And so how my body is going to have an influence on how I am supporting and running the room. And I think what I discovered really was that because in my work, my focus is on other people's body, I got into the habit of deeply neglecting my body or thinking that my body is less important in its well-being than the people I serve or the people I work for and with. And so it became a habit to shut down consciously to what was going on in my body and just be like, I'm just focusing on theirs through, long established, created in childhood coping mechanisms of like eating to soothe myself and numbing myself and various, societal pressures that made me kind of hide and protect and my body. There was this real kind of juxtaposition of a real connection to my body and wanting to use it, especially as a woman in the fight world. When I started training and working in the fight world, there weren't many women that did the work. It was a very male-dominated discipline and led by quite a lot of machismo. And I approached it in a different way, which was less about kind of mining or exploring kind of the masculinity of violence and more about being really curious about the cost and consequence of violence in our society and how much violence there is, and that we're in a kind of epidemic because we're not taught to deal with our emotions or to even sit with our emotions. And so I
What do you
saw,
mean? What are you talking about?
I,
I don't know.
right? I don't have those things.
I don't, nope.
What is that? Is that a kind of protein bar?
Never heard of her.
So I was really interested in if I can understand it from within, maybe I can find ways to stop it. But I don't like getting punched in the face and I don't like getting hurt. So I didn't want to understand it from like real actual violence and boxing and martial arts and things like that. But this was a way to live in that moment imaginatively and learn about it. And seeing a woman's body in rage and violence is still a reasonably rare thing for people to see. And was really curious to me. So I really enjoyed the use of my body and how it became a very powerful tool, both to tell a story or to help other people tell a story. And at the same time was also neglecting it and wishing it was something else and punishing myself and being ashamed of it and using coping mechanisms that didn't serve me to get through both the world and life, but also as a coping mechanisms of dealing with the stories that come up that I tell. When you tell stories of violence, when you tell stories of intimacy or non-consensual intimacy, that kind of story can sit in your body. And if you don't get it out, it can kind of stay in there. Yeah.
And how, or not how, because you just explained the how, but when did you start to work with stage combat and when did your interest start to peak around that? Because for me, I love stage combat and I did it in college in our movement class. Like we did the rapier and dagger, how to do a nap sound with your hands when you're doing like all of that fun stuff, how to do the twist of the hair, but not grab the hair, all the basic stuff. But I really loved that. And we had a couple of people who would come in that were professionals that would work with us and talk us through how to do some of these things.
Yes, it's so much fun.
You are now that person. But when did that happen? Was it in university for you?
I mean, I think my interest in violence itself started very young, and I have very little actual violence in my life, experience of violence in my life. But I do remember when I was young, maybe 7 or 8 perhaps, and there was a very rare thing for my home, but there was a fight outside our house between a couple of people coming back from the pub. And my dad went outside and was kind of like yelling and trying to get them to stop fighting. And I went out as well. And I remember seeing, a guy being held on the ground and being punched in the face. And I had such a visceral reaction to it. I think there were many things in that reaction. Curiosity, like a fascination, a curiosity, and in the true sense, awe about the capacity of one person to do that to another person. And I think that really kind of sparked what is this? I need to understand it. And I was a fencer as a teenager. So I studied fencing and was the bronze champion of my tiny little island, Guernsey, where I'm from, for a little while. So on the other side, I had that kind of sword fighting sport skill. And so once I went to drama school and, we did some there. And then as I was in my acting career, as I was in shows that had fight, I would kind of just like always hang out and watch and be like, oh, there's a skill here, and started to learn just a little bit. But I think I don't quite know why I never fully went into that until I moved here to America. And I remember being very early on in a production of Romeo and Juliet, and the fight person was fantastic, Adam McLean, incredible fight director, and he really brought it in a way that I respected, which was an interest in the craft and a care for the actors. And so I clicked with him, and he made me his fight captain, and I just kind of followed him around and was like, what do you do? Train me. And then I was like, I think I can bring something to this.
Yeah.
And then started to like really train in it and study.
Yeah.
That.
And so then you have been a physical person your entire life, clearly, especially with fencing. And then you became a performer, which is also very physical. And then, like you said, you stopped performing.
Mm.
And that's when sort of things went a little awry for your own body, which I find happens with a lot of actors who transition and move into a different part of that business or a different career in general. It's hard, right? You become very sedentary because you're not moving your body 8 times a week and doing all of these shows.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I mean, I don't know how any of you would know who are listening or watching, unless you work with me, that Claire is also one of my clients.
Yes.
And we started working together, what was it, a year ago?
Almost. It was
Almost a year ago.
It's 11 months now.
Okay. And we started working together because I know that you wanted to come back to your body and you had goals and things that you wanted to do and to achieve, which is amazing. And you found us. And talk a little bit about what made you decide to contact me and to go on this journey. Like, what was the final straw that you're like, I can't do this anymore, I need help? And then what was your experience throughout?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd been yo-yoing in my weight for years, ever since the pandemic. I think the pandemic, we all many people I know really just like sat on our sofa and ate cookies and watched Tiger King for, and put on 16 pounds, right? And it seems everyone put 16 pounds on. Like, no matter what you did, it was just always that.
I called it the COVID-19. I put on my 19 pounds.
Yes, that was it. And then I managed to, then I was like, well, this is too much. And I managed to lose it. And then it crept up. And then 2019 was a really demanding year work-wise, both physically and emotionally. And so, I fell back on coping mechanisms, and then kind of managed to lose a little bit. And then in the summer before joining with you, my niece got married, and I went to the wedding, and I was probably at my heaviest I'd been for a while at that point. And I remember like thinking, I'll just wear that dress that I have in the wardrobe. And thank God she got married in England. Thank God I tried it on before I went, because I couldn't do it up. And so I had to go with another dress. And then in the pictures, it was one of those, you see the pictures and I'm like, oof, wow. Okay. And then I tried a little bit myself to wean down. But what the real kind of catalyst was that I worked on an incredibly difficult and demanding show in January, February of that year, of 2025, which was the year I started. And it was, for many reasons, incredibly painful and emotionally demanding of me in all my capacity. And I remember clocking a moment where I was like, this might break me. Like, this might be too much. And then this voice inside said, and excuse me, time out. Can I swear on this?
Fucking
great. So this voice inside me just like rose up from the deep and went, fuck that. They are not going to win. They will not break you. Girl, you have to take control. You have to look after yourself. If they're doing this to you, you can't also do it to yourself. And it so happened that I saw a picture on a friend of mine's Instagram, Chris, who was one of your clients and now, a trainer. And I'd worked with him a couple of years ago on a show, and he had a picture. It was his like end of the program picture. And I was like, holy shit, how did you do that? And I reached out to him and was like, oh my God, you look incredible. How'd you do that? And he told me about you. And I looked up, and I will say at first, I was like, oh, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of men on there, all looking very like biceps and abs and the whole idea of like this thing, like, I was like, I do need help. I know I can't, I keep falling off on my own. But then, there was fear around, but I just was like, let me just ask. So I booked a call with you, and it was intimidating because you were right away. It was like, yeah, there's accountability here. Like, you're gonna be looking at everything that you put in your mouth, and we're gonna give you these workout, and you're gonna do it. But I think the amount of structure that there was, and the amount of like check-ins, and the weekly check-in that comes in, the putting everything in the app. It was it gave me the opportunity to just go, you know what? Let someone else lead and just follow, because I don't have to do everything myself. And to have that team of people behind me, and to have literally to be like, what's for breakfast? Open the app. Oh, it's this and this and this. Put those in the pan, put them in your mouth. Now get on with your day, and which I needed, because through this program, I have completely changed the way I eat, the way I work out, the way I think about food now. It takes months. You have to reprogram your brain. You have to reprogram your body. But now I'm at a point where, the fear is always, and I still have it occasionally. I feel like I'll fall back off, or I'll just have a binge and that's it. It's all ruined. But it feels different when I eat that stuff now. And my body goes, okay, that's enough. We're not keen on that.
I don't like the way that's making me feel.
Yeah. And now I can be like, I'm hungry for fat because I haven't had enough of that. I can identify now whereas before I'd be like, I'm hungry, I should eat a massive sandwich and some chips to go with it. Right. So I mean, I could go on about it forever, but it was the intimidation around how extensive the program was exactly what I needed. I think it was that I'm intimidated, and I know that's what I need to actually be successful for the first time in my life at 48 years old.
You mean 18 years old. So age is just a number. What was I was going to say something about, we talked about it when we were on our final touch base call about how when we first started. So for those of you listening, Claire is a very intentional, very methodical and person, but also likes to know the why behind it, which I think is important. And as a coach, I like to give the why, because otherwise, who cares? I'm just telling you what to do. But you need to know why, because it makes a difference, and you retain that information more, and it helps you change your habits. But what I loved was, that there was a lot of back and forth between us in the beginning.
Yes.
Because that friction was like, but I don't understand it. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm saying it like you said it like that. You didn't even say it.
That was how I was thinking it most of the time.
No, you weren't. I didn't take it as such. But you were basically like, tell me why. I don't know. I don't think this is going to work. And I don't, there was a little bit of that push and pull, which happens a lot in the beginning of coaching. And with us, I knew in the beginning that if you hung on, that you were going to make some major changes. And you have one of the best, most impressive, most amazing transformations of all the clients we've had.
Oh my God.
I'm getting chills, and now I'm getting emotional thinking about it, because where you started, which was you were already a beautiful, gorgeous woman with a fantastic body. However, regardless of how you felt, that's not how the world saw you. But I understand when you're in your body, you don't see it that way, right?
Yeah.
And you have your thoughts about that. But what you did to shift your body, the amount of muscle tissue you built, and no, you didn't Hulk out and look like this bulking, crazy person.
No.
Because that's not what we were going for. Because I think that there is a very big misconception that if I lift weights, I'm going to get bulky. But the only way you get quote unquote bulky is if you are eating to put on more mass. That's not what we were doing. We were trying to build some muscle tissue, but had you in a bit of a caloric deficit so that you would lose some body fat, right? And we tried a lot of different techniques.
Well, I think at the beginning, I can be quite a suspicious person. And it takes me a while to trust something that I don't know. And so, I hold back, and I can be quite resistant if I don't yet trust something. And then once I trust it, I'm all in. And part of it, I was also really nervous. Like, the messages I think that women in society get about lifting are so unhelpful. And I am now on a mission. Pretty much every woman I see, especially if they ever comment on, because I get, now I get a lot of comments on my arms and my shoulders when people see them. And that I've lost so much weight. And when people hug me, they're like, what happened? My God, your whole back. And
it's muscular and beautiful.
And I'm on this mission to dispel the myths that women get told about lifting, which is that if you lift heavy weights, you will bulk out and look quote unquote masculine. And that cardio is the way. If you want to lose fat, you just have to do more and more cardio. And, people will tell you the truth, but it really is hard to not listen to all those messages that are put in. And so, yes, I was a little scared about like bulking up, because I'm a very tall person for a woman. I'm 6 foot. I have quite broad shoulders. So I've already navigated the world with a lot of the world telling me that I am unfeminine because I have a larger body, and always pushing back against that. But also, I would get a workout and I'd be like, wait, Stephen, no. This is downstairs in the gym. The people downstairs, that's all the really big men that like can't put their arms down. I don't belong there. And for me, it was a journey in claiming my space in somewhere that I do belong, because as a woman in the gym, and my gym, it's a lifting gym, and the downstairs is all the big lifting equipment, and then upstairs are the cardio machines, and then there's kind of slightly easier machines that you have the picture on that you can wander around and do like 10 easy reps and then be like, whoa, that's me done, and go home. And so I was like, I don't know how to use that machine. I don't feel like I belong here. And I would come up with all kinds of excuses to try and get you to change it. I'd be like, I don't know. No, I can't possibly. And you'd be like, you know what? Just go. Just get down there. If someone's on the machine, ask them to move and then do the damn thing. And I'd be like, well, I'm going, but I don't like you today. And there'll be times where I would be turning up at the gym and I was close to tears because I was scared to claim my space and to do something that my body doesn't normally do, which is to invest in the strength of my body. And then I would get and find the machine. I'd be like, okay, yeah, there's fucking machine that Steve told me I have to fucking do. And I put the weight on. I'd be like, oh, I hope no one's watching. And then I'd lift the thing up and I'd put it down again. And I'd be like, oh, well, that was actually kind of easy. So I'd do it a couple more times and I'd be like, actually, I kind of like this, right? And then it becomes my new favorite. Or I'd be like, well, I'm never going to like this machine, but I'll do it for the phase, and then the phase will change.
Yes, exactly.
But it was, I think what I really discovered, not only in my right and ability to control how my body functions and to be strong. People talk about strong women all the time. And I'm like, yeah, physically too. And to claim space somewhere that I've been told many times I don't belong, and to be so welcomed into that space. And now I go in and I've got my people. I'm like, morning, hi. And we see each other and we have a chat, and I feel it's my space. And that was so. For me, it was all the questions and the why, I think, became really important, because this was about never going back. This was about, from now on, I want to change my life. And if I can understand all the whys of it, then I can be in control of that knowledge.
Correct.
So that as I continue for the next couple of years, I can be like, okay, so this is what I want to work on. And I have all this knowledge that I've gained. So I know why, like, this amount of protein and then this kind of carb. But when I have the carb matters. And the knowledge is power, and knowledge gives me control over what I want and the rest of my life, not to be too dramatic, and your willingness to answer those questions, and your willingness to sit in that like resistant place with me, and your patience with it really gave me the ability to deeply understand how I can now maintain and make the most of and enjoy my body for the rest of my life.